All right, so let's go over some more HTML code. Last time we went over stuff, we went over what doc type was, HTML, the head, the body. We all kind of reviewed that. And we talked about additional code for the head, which was the meta tag and the link tag, and then additional code for the children, which would help give us structure to improve search engine optimization. We talked about the div tag being a generic division, about different ways that we could split up the body by using main, the navigation tag element, section, article. We talked about the header and the aside for like sidebar information and the footer. So we're going to kind of continue using stuff to build off of that. I want you guys to start using the material that you started collecting for your website. We're going to start playing around with the first page. Again, we're still not doing CSS yet. Our focus is still on just HTML. We need to have our structure set up. So that same structure is going to be used from now on. Your HTML structure is not going to change. Okay. What is that we've briefly talked about, and we're going to go into a little bit more detail, is how text is structured. You guys have already used the, I'm just going to call them the H elements, okay? And I'm going to put a question mark in there. The H elements, which are from H1 all the way to H6, okay, and it's a way that we can break up our content titles or subheadings so that our computer can understand what is more important. Okay, you should not be using these for paragraph text or anything like that. Okay, we already did work on paragraph. That's what the end tag looks like. Okay, this is used for text, bodies of text. Okay, and it could be anywhere from a sentence, well, let's say a word, to full paragraphs. Okay, this will set us up in the future so that we can plan out how we're going to format those pieces of text. Okay, we have other ones though. We have the pre, which also has an end tag for it, which is used for pre-formatted text. So you could use this for like quotes, poems, code, anything that you're trying to display exactly how you type it and you don't want it to change. This is when you'd want to use the pre. Quotes, poems, code, that type of stuff. Okay, we have span, which is used for doing custom styles that's kind of different from paragraph, and we're going to use that later. So I'm just mentioning it now though. Used for custom formatting of text. Okay. So what we're going to do, and I want you guys, since we started kind of learning source control, we're going to go into our GitHub account, and this is where we're going to kind of build stuff. All right, so let me shrink this down some. Okay, so in our GitHub account, we're going to actually create a project here first, new repository. Okay, and we're going to play around with this. So let's do this one as a repository. We're just going to call it HTML text structure. Okay. This is a repo for setting up the flow of the HTML document with a focus on text structure. Okay, so we'll have that. We are going to initialize it with the README. We're creating this entire document here, but then we're going to end up pulling it down to our computer. Okay, so now I have this. There's nothing in here right now, but we want to clone it. So we're going to get this right here. We're not downloading in zip or any of that. We're just copying this URL. And then you guys have GitKraken on your desktop. You're going to open that up. You're going to go to File, and you're going to do Clone Repo. If that doesn't show up, you're going to click on this folder right here, and you're going to go to Clone Repo. Then we can choose where we want to clone a copy of what we have on the computer in GitHub. Now, I am doing this in documents. You are not. You guys are doing this in your Z drive, in your web design folder, and you will create a folder with the exact same name. So we're doing HTML text structure. That is what you guys are doing. So you're going to go to Documents, your web design. We'll do a new folder, and we're going to call it HTML text structure. Okay, then we're going to select that folder. That's where we want it to go. And then we're going to paste this URL. Okay, this next line should fill out. This is what you need to do. You need to make sure that you're doing it correctly. And we go ahead and clone the repo. Okay, let's go ahead and open it up. Now we should have, they should mirror each other right now. Let's go and look in our web design folder, make sure that it did it how we wanted it. HTML text structure. It put the additional folder in there, and that's fine. In the future, you could make sure that you don't, you select the folder above, and then it's just going to copy that folder in there. But now it has, we have that README that we had online, and we have this .git. You are not playing around with this .git folder. This is what is helping so that you always have the same copy. You just need to push and pull. Okay, so we would use GitKraken to do that. We now have a remote from that website, and we now have our master for our HTML text structure. Okay, so let's go back to our GitHub. We're going to create a new file, and this file we're going to call index.html. Okay, and we have to start building it. So we're going to build all the pieces that we need for what is needed on a website. So we start off with the doc type. Doc type HTML. And this is giving you guys a way that you could work on this literally from your phone. HTML. We use the language attribute is equal to English. That's my beginning tag. Now I got to have my ending tag, so I'm going to do HTML, and in between it I'm going to start hitting enter. Okay, now I know that inside my HTML I have two children. I have a head, and they both have a beginning and an ending tag, and I have a body. Okay, so now that we got that, let's fill out our head. So we want our title. Now I am doing generic. You guys are going to fill in with the stuff that you did from your brainstorm session. So I'll hit tab because I'm going to have a child inside my head, which is called title. And I'm going to add my end tag. It's really good practice to just create your end tags when you create your beginning tags so you don't make a mistake. This is the title on the tab. Okay, when you have your web page open, it would be this one that says new file. Okay, then we got to have our meta tags. So we want our meta char set equals UTF-8. We close it. This one does not have an ending tag. Meta name equals description. Content equals this design is, or this structure is from my brainstorm session. You guys are going to fill out this information. Okay, meta name equals keywords, content. Okay, so now we need our keywords for our web page. So this is depending on what your website is, you're going to have your keywords broken down for each one of your items. So keywords 1, keywords 2. This helps with search engine optimization. Okay, so people will be able to find your stuff better. You guys need to fill that out with accurate keywords. That's what I'm looking for. Keywords 3, 4. Okay. So make sure you guys are filling that out correctly. Then we are doing we could start doing a link to CSS, but I really don't want you guys to jump in that, but that's where we would put it inside our head. So our head is good. The only other thing that we could put in there is a link for our favicon, which would be good practice to do if you've started creating one for your website. You would want to start consistently using it. Okay, so now we let our head close. We are in our body. A body is a child of HTML, and we're going to start putting some stuff in there. So remember, we have main. We have our sections. Section. We have our article. Okay, and then you have a side. Okay, which can be used for like sidebar content, that type of stuff. So we want to start filling out this stuff. Now, I want to talk about some global attributes. Okay, if I had, and I'm looking at my GitHub account, okay, if I have 3 sections, and they're all basically covering different stuff in my main, and so I'm actually going to make this. So let's do that. We're going to start moving these in order. All right, so if I have, let's say, 3 sections in my main, the sections become children to the main, so they're going to be indented. And how do I tell what each one is? How can I tell them apart? I mean, I know that I have those sections, but I have to have a way that I want to differentiate between the two, especially if I'm trying to do some type of formatting. Because we talked about last time that the issue that we would have with the div tags is that they were so generic that it caused issues when you were trying to customize your web pages and make it look really nice. Okay, so what we actually have is some global attributes. Global attributes are something that every tag has that you can use to customize your code when we start using CSS. Okay, so I am going to start using, and there's two of them. There's ID and there's class. So let's say ID, this is going to be my, and you guys are going to fill this out custom to what you're doing, but I could call this, I'm just going to call this section 1. You guys will put something more specific. And remember, it always goes in the your beginning tag. So this one will be section 2 for that section. And this one, we're going to do ID is equal to section 3. Okay, make sure you close the quotes. Okay, so then if I have an article in here, bam, that's a child of that section. So what we want is we want to be able to start formatting these sections. So this section now, even though it's still a section tag, I have an ID on it that I can refer to that I'm calling a section 1, section 2, and section 3. It makes it easier for when I want to do the formatting so that it will look good, okay? And that will really help us in our programming, but we need to start filling out our articles. So if I had an article in here, I am probably going to have some type of heading, which we didn't put in our main heading page. So let's go ahead and do that. That would be header. Okay, and then inside of this, we could have that called H1 because that's going to be the most important. Okay, and then I can say, you know, this is my main title for my web page. Okay, now in this article, this is not as important. I'm probably going to do something like an H2. H2, close it off. This is the heading for my first article. Okay, so now I have that H2. I'm going to do my paragraph tag for what I want to type up. Let's get some lorem ipsum text just so we can get a layout. Lorem. You guys already have, you already got some text that is getting generated. So from what you did for you guys' prep in your brainstorm session, I'm just getting some dummy text to help fill out mine. Okay, so I throw something in there. Now remember, there is no it does not recognize white space, so I need to make it so it's easier for me to see. I can go ahead and hit enter and go to the next pages. That's okay. All right, if I need it to be a line break, I need to put BR in there between every spot that I want it to start a new line. Okay, so now I have a paragraph and I have a heading for that article. I can give a global attribute and I can call it class that I could say, you know, let's call this articles. And this is going to be something specific that I could refer to for every single article that is created anywhere in my page. So even in my aside, maybe I'm going to have an article in there. Article, and I can call it class equals, and I want a lot of documents to get identified by the same thing. I could do that. That way when I want to format multiple sections of text, I can have them all look pretty uniform. Okay, article. So if I edited this article class to maybe have a blue background, then this one, whatever was inside here, would also have that. And maybe in my article, I'm going to have a quote. So if it's a quote, then I'm going to want to use the pre so that I can format the order of what I want it to look like. Okay, so we're kind of fleshing out, and I can't think of a quote off the top of my head. Let's just do quote. Quote of the day. That looks great. Quote of the day. A great deal of intelligence can be invested in ignorance when the need for illusion is deep. Well, that sounds good. All right, so we go here. We're going to put that as our pre. Okay. And that was written by Saul Bellow. Okay, so now we have that as part of our article that could be supporting our aside. Tags could be supporting that. Now, we want to do more with that though. Either we have already had this completely formatted exactly how we wanted, then we can use it as pre. If we wanted it to, so let's just go ahead and copy this again. We'll have another one down here. If we have another one that maybe we wanted to start doing the formatting for our text, we would go ahead and use the paragraph tag. Okay, pre is only used for when it's already there. And if we want to dictate certain things, then we can start setting that up. And this is where the different pieces of code that we have that we're going to want to know. Okay, so we learned about break as a line break. And we learned about the horizontal rule, HR, horizontal rule. Okay, those are pretty useful. Another one, an alternate to a line break, is that you could use this. It's called WBR. It's a possible line break. Okay, so you could kind of tell for when it's wrapping, then maybe break at that point instead of somewhere else. So that would be a good one to use. That also does not have an end tag. No end tag. Okay. No end tag. No end tag. All right. It's very important you guys know which ones are not the end tags. All right. Now here's the other code that we can have. We can have M for emphasis. When we're trying to stress something of importance, and we can format it however we want. It's usually showed in italic unless you change it. Italic unless changed. Okay. Then we have strong, which is used to show importance. And this one is usually in bold unless you change it. Okay, and then we have I, which is like the same thing as emphasis. It's in italic. Okay. So this is alternate voice or mood, thoughts, technical terms. Okay. Usually it's defaulted to italic. Okay. That doesn't mean that it needs to stay that way. It depends on how you want to use it. I'm sure that you guys can probably guess what that one is. This is for underlining. It's to indicate importance again. So this is just all ways that we can represent. This could be used for representing unarticulated text. Default is underline. And then we have B, which is for bold, indicate importance. So all of these are just different ways that we can try to format our text. Default is bold. Okay. So we could use that. Let's use that for that quote that we have to solidify some stuff. Okay, so this is probably going to be emphasis, deal of intelligence. Let's make that one strong. Can be invested in ignorance. That one will probably also be strong. Okay, so this is just a way that we can control how our text will look. The need for illusion is deep, and I want to put that all in, let's say, italics. Okay, it really kind of depends on how you're planning on using it. Okay, so now we have that, and now we want a line break, absolutely, where the writer is, and maybe we want this to also be a possible line break, WBR. Okay, and we have ways that we can set that up. There are other code pieces that we can talk about. I mean, we have mark, we have cite, time, code, data, small, address. There's more pieces that we could fill in for the code. For now, though, I'm just going to go ahead and let you guys stew with those. I want you to start filling this out. Okay, so now we have all of this code. We need to commit this. So actually, let's do a footer first, because we haven't talked about when we do special characters, character entities. So we have our aside, the end of our body. Let's do a footer. And that is a child of body. So let's put something in there. So if we want to do like copyright and you want it to look like it's supposed to, you have to write the and sign, and then you write the word copy, and that's going to appear as that C. So I could write that, and then I could say something like copyright and copy 2018. Okay. Redbeard Productions. Registered trademark, which would be and And then that one is I forgot what that one is. Well, we'll have to look that one up. Character entities HTML registered trademark. There's no backspace. Okay, and reg. All right. REG. Okay. So now we can commit the file. Initial commit. Okay, so we have this. We can start making the changes. We go ahead and we do the initial commit. Again, you know, we could edit a lot of this stuff. So now we have a good copy of that. I could go to GitKraken and I can poll. I'm polling what just happened. So here was my original that I had. Now I'm on my initial commit that I just polled just now. When I go into my computer and look at what I got, now I have that index file that I could go ahead and open. Look, this is what we just did, but we did it all online. We could pull it down to our computer. I can start editing from my computer now if I wanted to open this up in Atom. So you go ahead and open up, that's not new file, that's not what I wanted. We could open this up in Atom or in any notepad. You guys now have so many ways to work on this to continue building this out. Okay, so we have reviewed ID, we've learned ID, we've learned class, we reviewed a lot of the structure, we went over many of the different ways that we can format text. We're going to do more of them, but what I wanted you guys to do is to start building where now you're sharing between both of the systems. Okay, so if I make another change, I want an additional, I want an article for my section 2. This is the heading for my second article. Remarks complete. Okay. Now I go ahead and save this file. Save. Okay. And here, when I go back to GitKraken, this very top little node right here, it says that's WIP, it stands for work in progress. Now if I look here, I have files that it says I need that are unstaged. Green means that I've never added them, so I could go ahead and add them. Orange means that I have changed and modified some files. You'll have different ones for when you delete or remove a file. It'll be red, and it'll be blue if you change the name of the file. Okay, so now here's my commit message down here, and I can say I added a new paragraph in the second section. Okay, commit to changes. So we committed, we didn't push up yet. Because now we're working from a remote. So when you commit on your computer, you need to push to send it back up. You need to pull it back down. So then we go to push. It's going to tell you if you're successful or not. Well, yeah, there we go. Okay, so now we go to here. We can look at our stuff. We can refresh. Okay, now we have that additional one, that additional index. We can look at our history. See, here's the commit that we did from our own computer, and this was the initial commit. Okay, when we're looking in at this, let's open up that text one so we can see it. There you go. Here is that new paragraph. This is my heading for my second article, remarks complete. We did that from our computer and pushed it up, okay? So I want you to get used to that process so you guys can do stuff at home, on your phone. You guys literally have lots of ways to be creating this stuff. We're gonna do more of this in the future. All right, have fun.